just going to dive right into it. Okay?
Let's do it.
So you've been doing a lot of rankings recently. If you haven't seen it on texasfootball.com/recruiting, you have been releasing the top 10 positional rankings, sporadically, right?
Yeah.
We've released 3 so far. We're going to keep doing that as the off season rolls on. But you texted me on Tuesday night. Maybe it was Monday night. I think it was Tuesday, Monday night, whatever. We were talking about.
It was after the Elite 11 camp.
It was after the Elite 11 camp, and you were on like a kick from the Elite 11 camp, and you texted me and you said, "Hey, how about we name the first 5-star in the class of 2026?" And as y'all can probably assume, he was at the Elite 11 camp that you went to down in Austin on Saturday. And with that being said, I'll toss this over to you.
So the Elite 11 camp was loaded with top quarterbacks, and just for the fans that may be casual to football recruiting, it is an annual camp that collects the top quarterbacks in the region, and they qualify to go to the Elite 11 finals, which is the top quarterbacks in the country, where they select the MVP. Some of the recent MVPs from Texas include Jackson Arnold, Cade Klubnik, DJ Lagway. Those were some of the top guys who took home that MVP honor in recent years. So Keyshawn Henderson cashed his check to the Elite 11 finals, but today he's cashing 5-star status on Dave Campbell's Texas football, because we're ready to name the number 1 prospect in the state as a 5-star, and that's our first 5-star in the class of 2026. And there will only be 5 5-stars in every class. So he's the first of 5. So congratulations to Keyshawn Henderson. I'm going to do it like he's not a 5-star yet till I push this button.
Oh, you're going to do this live?
Yeah, So Keyshawn Henderson is officially a 5-star now.
He's officially a 5-star. Let's go.
Now he's officially a 5-star. So he's committed to Houston, and Cougars fans should be fired up about his commitment. Not only because he's a 5-star, he's the highest rated Houston Cougars commit of all time, beating Ed Oliver by 1 spot. So Ed Oliver was a number 2 prospect in the state. Keyshawn Henderson is the number 1 prospect. But why I think Cougars fans should be fired up is that he's saying all the right things about his commitment. He's locked in with the Cougars 100%. Talked to him specifically about that, but he came away with some great quotes, and I just want to read one to you. "After I'm gone, I want the city to be thriving off a great program and a great group of guys around it. I want Houston to be on the map. When people think of Houston, they think of football, not basketball." Now, that's a dude you want to build your recruiting class around, and I think he can change the UH program.
I was going to say, that to me sounds like a program-changing commit for them.
Oh, and
he committed back in May of last season, and he still seems as dialed in as forever. What is our saying always? Watch what they do, not what they say.
Yep.
I think this kind of goes for both. I mean, he took an unofficial visit, I think, up to Houston a couple months ago, or maybe a month ago.
And then he was back yesterday.
He took a picture with the mayor of Houston, like at a basketball game, and I was like,
Henderson
this dude is dialed in.
He should be the mayor. Keyshawn Henderson should be the mayor, and he is. He's working all the top recruits to join him. He wants, like, if you're from Houston, I think he's pitching, stay with me here.
Yeah.
Let's build something for the city.
Yes.
And that's a great pitch, right? There's a lot of great talent in Houston.
Yeah.
It's going to be fun to watch. Willie Fritz really got a grand slam. I don't think a home run's even fair. This was like a walk-off grand slam with Keyshawn Henderson being the ringleader of this UH class. And what the future is going to be could be pretty special there. I'm excited to see what it's going to be like 2 years from now. Is this commitment pushing them forward?
Right. Well, and let me ask you this last question on him. So we actually have him labeled as an athlete. So we released our top 10 quarterback rankings a couple weeks ago, and he was not on that list. And there were a lot of people asking you, okay, well, why? You have him listed as an athlete. Do you think he chose Houston because he's got a good chance at playing quarterback? Because I think he kind of wants to play quarterback.
Oh, yeah, he's going to play quarterback. Yeah, he's playing quarterback at Houston. We do rank him as an athlete, which includes quarterback. So I think the proper way to maybe, as I introduce him moving forward, is going to be QB athlete for right now. Yeah. But don't be surprised if he slides into the quarterback rankings at some point. The way I see athlete is it encompasses all position groups. So just because you're rated as an athlete doesn't mean you can't be a quarterback. Right. You can be a great college quarterback and be rated as an athlete.
I love it. Keyshawn Henderson, first 5-star named in the class of 2026.
That was fun.
At Dave Campbell's Texas football. Next headline. Let's move on. Texas A&M. The recruiting trail is smoking hot for the Aggies right now. And just this past weekend, they were able to land their first 2 in-state commitments. Now, they have 9 commitments overall in the class of 2026. Wait, I said 9 or 8? I meant 9.
9. Yeah, you said 9.
Remember.
You got it.
I think it's 9. Yeah, I've got it in my head. 9 commitments overall. 2 back-to-back in-state commitments for the Texas A&M Aggies in the class of 2026. We'll start with Cibolo Steele, 4-star running back Jonathan Hatton. Now, we've talked a lot about Jonathan Hatton here the past couple of days because you named him the 3rd best running back in the class of 2026 in the state of Texas. Tell me what's so special about Jonathan Hatton. What are the Aggies getting in him?
Well, he's a workhorse running back, 6 foot, 6'1", 205, 215. He can run right over you, but he has great footwork in the hole. So he has a little bit of make you miss. Not often that you see that in somebody with such an elite frame. And I think that he fits the SEC perfectly. Tip of the cap to everything that they're doing there, because now for back-to-back years, they have stayed in state to grab an elite running back prospect. Last year, it was Tiger Ryden from DeSoto, who is, of course, one of the top programs in
one
the
of my
entire.
favorites.
Yeah,
Yep.
You always want to have a pipeline to DeSoto, and now Cibolo Steele's Hatton, who is also an elite running back, and Steele is one of the top programs in the state. So I love to see a school recruiting some of the top programs, but also they've done an excellent job keeping it home in the last 2 classes at RB.
And then they were also able to bring in Houston legacy wide receiver Mike Brown. And what I took away from that article that you wrote about him was that quote that said, "I've been around A&M my whole life. My dad and mom both went there, and it has always felt like home. I can see myself thriving in that program." That's powerful.
Thriving is key, because Mike Brown is a guy that had over 30 scholarship offers whenever he made the decision to commit to Texas A&M. He's one of my favorite recruits in this class because he is an elite route runner. He's a guy who can transition in and out of his cuts, and he gets great separation at the top of his routes. I also think he's extremely versatile from a roster perspective, because I think he can play inside out or outside in. He can be in the slot, or you can kick him out and let him do some outside wide receiver stuff. High football IQ. He's the son of a former football legend,
He's got that
former
pedigree.
first-round NFL draft pick, and his brother Reggie Brown was one of my favorite recruits whenever he signed with Tulane, a handful of years ago. So football runs in that family, and they live, eat, and sleep football. So this is a guy that's going to go into that program and I think move the needle. Basically can be a coach on the field. You can rely on him to do the right things, but guess what? You can also rely on him to catch every ball that's thrown in his direction and be open.
His tape's really fun.
I love his commitment. I think this is like one of those sneaky good players that A&M fans will be like thinking back to this day and be like, oh, that day we got Mike Brown. That was like
that was a good day.
That was like a good day. Yeah.
That was a good day. Again, Texas A&M hot on the recruiting trail for the class of 2026. And finally, in headlines, Texas State recruiting, pulling in 2 Texas in-state commits this week. But before we get to that, I think it's worth mentioning that former North Texas Director of Recruiting, Justin Owens, accepted the football general manager job at Texas State. Give me your thoughts on that.
Yeah, big hire for Texas State. He was the director of player personnel at North Texas for the past 2 years, I believe, there at UNT before getting a promotion. And I would say this general manager position now in college football is something that's transitioning into being a big deal. So I think his responsibilities there will include more roster management type of things that he was doing differently at North Texas, in addition to being that great recruiter that you see uncovering some hidden gems across Texas high school football.
Right.
Coach Owens, of course, a former Texas high school football coach, but he's well known for his camps and, the opportunity slogan that's out there to identify guys. And there for, a good handful of years or more, he was running, that opportunity camp series and identifying some of these top Texas talents. And I think that's what makes him unique in this recruiting space, is that he has an idea of where some of this elite talent may be under the radar at, and how to find them. And that's something I think that he did really well at UNT, and I'm excited to see that now at Texas State. Texas State's been doing a great job in recruiting, I feel like, underneath of Coach Kenny. Like, they are an exciting program. They offer a lot of the right kids in Texas, and it's been really fun to watch. So I just think this helps them push even a notch more in the right direction there.
Well, and Coach Owens, only being there for a short time, was able to pull in North Forney 2026 wide receiver Elijah
Otiano.
I knew I was going to mispronounce that, so I was like, we'll look to the recruiting guru, and you can tell me how to
Good
pronounce
commitment.
that.
They also landed a commitment from Carson Crawford at Carthage.
Which we'll talk about later.
We'll talk a little bit more about him later, but when I went and watched North Forney last season, they played Forney. It was the crosstown battle, right? Elijah Otiano caught all of the completions in the game. So I think he had like 5 receptions for over 100 yards in that game. He was the only wide receiver at North Forney to catch a pass that night. So that just speaks to the talent level that he has, and I feel like he fits well in the slot there at Texas State.
North Forney's got Forney does too, but North Forney's got a lot of talent. There's a ton of talent out there in Forney anyways. Coach Fleener and Coach Shavers have done a phenomenal job there.
Excellent
at those
program building going on over there at FISD.
Absolutely. All right, well, that wraps up our headlines segment.